Well, you're right, guys. Hope it's all okay out there with you. Today I am making vegetable spring rolls. And this video will be in two parts. The first part making the wrappers, and the second part stuffing the wrappers and cooking them. So here we go with the wrappers, and the ingredients are plain flour, salt, very hot water and some cooking oil. Here we go then. So as you may have guessed, for the wrappers we need to make a dough. 200 grams of plain flour, half a teaspoon of salt, in 120 ml of very hot water. The idea behind the hot water is that it denatures the proteins in the flour just a bit. This makes the dough just that little bit more elastic and workable, and it stops the wrapper from bubbling when we deep fry it. Get it all mixed together so the flour gets nice and wet, and you end up with a bit of a shaggy dough. So tip this out onto a floured work surface, knead it for 3 or 4 or 5 minutes. And then back in the bowl, covered, and rest it for about 30 minutes, 20-30 minutes. Half an hour's gone, so tip it out onto the floured work surface again and knead it for another 3, 4 or 5 minutes, just until it feels nice and silky smooth. And when you're happy with it, either roll it into a sausage or stick your thumbs through the centre, make a donut and rip the donut open, and you have an instant sausage. Roll it out a little bit so it's all even, and then cut it into 12 pieces and dust the pieces with a little bit of flour to stop them sticking together, and if you're not going to use them straight away, then cover them with a damp towel. Take a piece of dough, squash it down a bit and roll it out into a 75mm disc, it's 3 inches, and do the same with the second piece. And you want these two to be as close as possible to the same size. Generously brush one of the pieces with oil and sprinkle it with a coarse sprinkling of flour. Fairly big pieces, if you see what I mean. Yeah. Put the second piece of dough on top, just turning it over just to make sure they're roughly the same size, and then roll it out. And I'm going to roll these pieces out into a sort of circle, about 225, 250mm, 9 or 10 inches. Now, I'm only using 2 pieces of dough for this. If you're really good with a rolling pin, you can do 3, 4 or 5 layers. Just oil and flour each layer as you stack them up. Now, the only thing I'd say against doing more than 2 pieces is if it goes wrong, you've ruined more than 2 pieces of dough. I just repeat this for the rest of the pieces of dough, or until you've got as much as you need. Set them to one side under a damp tea towel again. Get a large frying pan on a medium-high heat and dry fry the wrappers about 20 seconds on the first side and 10 to 20 on the second side. You'll see the top wrapper changing colour a little bit, so time to flip it. And once the second side's in contact with the pan, the steam gets trapped between the 2 layers, and where you've oiled it, they start separating. You'll see a big bubble forming about 8 o'clock-ish by the handle there. And that's just lifting the 2 layers apart for you, make them easier to peel. Off with the heat and out of the pan, and let them cool down a bit before you try peeling them apart, as they'll just tear. And there we are, 2 pancake wrappers. Light dusting of flour just to stop them sticking together again. And if you're not going to use them straight away, then again store them under a damp towel. Okay then, on with the actual making of the spring roll. And here's the ingredients going clockwise. We've got a carrot, some cabbage, some glass noodles or rice noodles, light soy sauce, oyster sauce, garlic, flour for making up a paste later on, salt, sugar and pepper, an optional chilli, onion, bean sprouts and some spring onion greens. Here we go then. And the first step is to soak the glass noodles in hot water, and these go everywhere, look. If you're using any other sort of noodles, then just cook them as per the manufacturer's instructions. You want them nice and soft. Set these aside for about 15 minutes. If you're using a fresh chilli, then slice it quite finely. You don't want big chunks of chilli in a spring roll. Alternatively, a little bit of chilli powder would do. And I was so fed up with my old mandolin not working with the prawn crackers the other day that I went out and bought one of these V-slicers. I used to have one of these when they first came out on QVC on Sky about 20 years ago. Good bit of kit actually. Lots of shredding and julienning for this one, so that's why I got it out. So shred up the onion and the carrot. And cut the carrot into 50mm stalks. Don't know where the onion footage has gone, it disappeared. And shred the cabbage. Drain the glass noodles, wring them out a little bit, and cut those into 50mm pieces as well. Okay then, let's get it all cooked. Pan on the heat with some oil and in with the garlic. And as soon as the garlic starts taking on a bit of colour, in with the onions. See, look, I did do some onions, look. And once these start going translucent, maybe a minute or so, in with the carrot stalks. Give them a good toss around. And again, about a minute, in with the cabbage. I cut far too much cabbage, so that's gone to one side. Stir it around again. In with the spring onion greens. And they'll steam a little bit. And once they start wilting, in with the soy sauce. And the oyster sauce. And the sugar, salt and pepper. And the last to go in are the glass noodles and the bean sprouts. And as soon as they're all nicely coated and warmed through, off the heat. And set the veggie mix to one side to cool completely before we make the spring rolls. And when the mix has cooled down, it's time to assemble your spring rolls. And first up, we make a flour paste. Remember this from school? Flour and water, just to make a sticky paste. We're going to use this to hold the wrapper together. Okay then, just lay your wrapper down in front of you. And we want to fill it with about 2 tablespoons of filling. Now I should have used a spoon for this because a fork was it was catching the noodles, if you like. Don't be tempted to put any more than this in. Overfilling it will lead to disaster. Tidy up the wrapper a little bit. There we go, you see what I'm doing now. And roll away from you, lifting the bottom of the wrapper over the top. And as soon as you get a turn made, fold the sides in. Carry on rolling, pushing the sides in. Use your finger and put a load of flour paste on the last bit of wrapper. Carry on rolling, and just like magic it sticks together. And repeat until you've done all your wrappers. You can see now that it doesn't matter if the wrappers are round or not really. If you're not going to cook these straight away, they can be frozen for a month. And I had some rice wrappers lying around, so I thought I'd try these. So quick soaking, very, very sticky. That's why they're on a damp tea towel. Same again though, just fill them up, roll them up. I did 3 of these, and we'll see how they go. They didn't need the flour paste, that's for sure. Get your oil up to temperature, 180 Celsius should do for this. And lay your spring rolls in. I used my fingers because I found it easier than using tongs. It's going to sound daft, but you have more feeling with your fingers. If I'd have used the tongs, I'd have squashed the delicate spring rolls. If you're shallow frying, then probably 5 minutes each side. I just deep fried these until the bubbles stopped in the oil really. Turned them a few times though. Again, it's going to sound daft, but you'll know when they're ready because they just look ready. Just that right tinge of brown to them. Off with the heat, and this time I will use the tongs to take them out. Onto some kitchen tissue just to drain off any excess oil. And the same routine again with the rice wrapper ones. Just checking the oil's still at temperature. They kept floating and they kept forming bubbles. See the great big bubbles on them? And it seemed like some parts of the wrapper were cooking faster than the others. Weird. Anyway, all drained off and ready to eat. Wow! Well, alright guys, you know what time it is. Testing time. Made up a little dipping sauce, a bit of oyster sauce, soy sauce and a little bit of Tabasco just to reflect the flavours in the spring rolls. No sauce to start off with, I want to taste the spring roll. The big ones are my pastry, my wrappers, and the little ones are rice wrappers that I bought, Blue Dragon I think they are. Oh, yeah. Honestly guys, you'd think that was at a Chinese restaurant. Vegetable spring roll as opposed to one with shrimp in it, but lovely. Oh, just crispy. Doesn't need the sauce. Oh yeah. Oh, I'm in heaven. Ah. Well, that's half of one of mine eaten. And they're not greasy, look. And these are the rice wrappers, rice paper. They look a bit greasy. Oh yeah, they are. Same filling, same taste really. These would probably be better boiled, these wrappers. Oh, Gordon Bennett, that is a winner, I tell you. Take care guys. I'm going to go finish these off downstairs.